Deepa?
Yes.
Yeah, over to you.
How will I?
Yeah, start.
Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to the inaugural session of 8th IUPAP International Conference on Women in Physics, EQUIP 2023. The EQUIP 2023 conference is co-organized by the Gender in Physics Working Group, popularly known as GIPWG of Indian Physics Association, and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. I'm Deepa Chari, a faculty member at the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education of TIFR, and I will be comparing this event. On behalf of EQUIP 2023 organizers, I welcome you all to this online international conference taking place in India for the first time. I now invite Professor Vandana Nanal, Chair GIPWG IPA and Co-Chair EQUIP 2023 Local Organizing Committee to tell us about the activities of GIPWG and the genesis of EQUIP 2023. Professor Nanal is a senior professor at TIFR and she specializes in experimental nuclear and accelerator physics. She is presently a joint chair of BARC TIFR Peltron Liniac facility. She has been a member of GIPWG since its inception and is actively involved in promoting gender equity in physics. Over to you, Professor Nanal.
Thank you, Deepa. Let me share my screen. I hope you all can see my screen now. Yeah. So I will talk about GIPWG and pathway to EQUIP India. So first of all, a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of EQUIP 2023 Organizing Committee Team India. And as you all know, India symbolizes a diversity, and this is an attempt to tell all of you a simple way of combined way of showing a welcome in multi-languages. Give me just 30 seconds. There is some voice disturbance. Let me stop that. Why is there echo? I'm sorry. Just please give us a minute. There is an echo when I talk. There was, yeah. Okay, sorry. So let me get on now with the thing. So after the welcome, so let me take a brief moment to tell you about the organizers of the EQUIP. I work at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, which is one of the organizers of this conference. TIFR is a premier institution in India for basic research. This was established in 1945 by Homi Bhabha, and it has basically 3 schools: mathematics, natural sciences, and technology and computer science. The research fields span over almost everything in the science: biological sciences, chemical sciences, astronomy, astrophysics, condensed matter physics, energy physics, nuclear and atomic physics, and theory physics. In addition to the main campus at Kolaba, we have multiple centers spread over at different places in India, and one of them being in Pune, where we host the one of the largest radio telescopes, the Giant Meter Wave Radio Telescope. In addition to this, TIFR has many field stations. One of the centers of TIFR, which is also the host institution for this online conference, is the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. The mandate of this center is to promote equity and excellence in science and mathematics education for primary school as well as UG level, undergraduate level. It's also working to encourage the growth of scientific literacy in the country. This center has a responsibility for large national programs like Vigyan Pratibha, National Initiative in Undergraduate Science, Science and Mathematics Olympiads, and it's involved strongly in engaging with students and teachers for working out on various aspects like discipline-based science education research, socio-scientific issues in science education, and so on. The conference is co-organized by Indian Physics Association. The Indian Physics Association was founded in 1970, and you will hear more about it from President of IPA, Dr. Yusuf later. The main role of this IPA has been liaising with various national bodies, providing a platform for physics communities. This is done through organization of special lectures, biennial awards, and it also has international linkages with other partner societies like APS, and is a very active member of AAPPS, as well as has collaborations with IOP. It brings out a quarterly newsletter, Physics News, and we have some special issues which I feature here in the last few years, which were featuring the works of the women scientists and focused on some of them. Under the umbrella of IPA, the Gender in Physics Working Group was established in 2017 by the sustained efforts of many women over the years. And here I show you some pictures. This is the first group, which was with Prajwal Shastri as a first chair. These are the current members of the group, and this is the one of the main activities which was done by GIPWG in 2019 for the conference, which was held in a national conference in Hyderabad. The deliberations resulted in the Hyderabad Charter, the guiding principles to achieve gender equity, which has received more than 500 endorsements. In addition, we have a few gender groups formed under GIPWG in condensed matter and high energy physics, and other societies like Astronomical Society of India, IAPT, also have gender groups. So GIPWG closely licensed with them. So in the short, I have to briefly have a word about what GIPWG currently would like to say is be a woman, work for mentoring and networking. So this is of course beyond the gender. So we have initiated a creation of national database for women in physics, launched a survey for gender statistics in physics departments and conferences, and mentoring and career guidance workshops are conducted. For the short of time, I will be brief about the activities of GIPWG. You can visit our webpage and we'll get to know more about it during the course of this conference. So how did we go about to get after the PFP 2019, we made a proposal for EQUIP, and this effort actually started in the beginning of January 22, when we made the proposal. And this team, the proposal was put together by a team of experts spanning all across India, and we had experience in gender issues and organizational experience. So this is the team, which is the local organizing committee. As you can see, many people adding to this, and that's what making such a diverse conference possible. This is the team of our local advisory committee who have been guiding us in making all the programs, and you will meet some of them, or some of them are already right now present in the audience. And how is it looking like right now? We have representation from about 70 countries across the world, about 500 delegates, of 20% of which are students. And as I said, this proposal we started preparing in January 22, and for almost the last year, since June 22, as we were preparing for the conference, we also conducted a lot of satellite events all over the country at different places, and you'll hear more about it from co-chair when she talks about it. So all I will say is stay tuned. Welcome once again, and like you all, I also look forward to an exciting one. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Nanal, for introducing GIPWG and also about telling us about EQUIP participation. Okay. I now invite Professor Lilia Meza Montes, Chair of IUPAC Working Group 5, to tell about EQUIP conference series. Professor Montes is a solid-state physicist. She is the first woman PhD recipient from Meritorious Autonomous University of Puebla. Professor Montes is the National Coordinator of Mexican Network of Science, Technology, and Gender, and many other networks that are acting to promote women participation in science and technological careers. Over to you, Professor Lilia.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. So, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for being here with us. I would like to thank all the institutions, the local organizing committee, invite the speakers, participants, and everybody who have made this conference possible. So let us start our journey talking about how the conference has been through the years. I would like to talk first about our International Union of Pure and Applied Physics, founded in 1922. Last summer, we celebrated our first centennial, and our union currently embraces around 60 associations, as you can see in this map. During the 23rd General Assembly in 1999, the resolution number 6 established the formation of the working group, Women in Physics. The mandate to the group shall be to survey the present situation and report to the Council and the liaison committees to suggest means to improve the situation for women in physics. To accomplish these goals, a survey and a conference were organized by the working group established at that moment. So the first conference took place in Paris, France in 2002 with the participation of more of 300 colleagues from 65 countries. The conference was so successful that it was decided that another conference and that we should organize every 3 years a conference. And you can see through this group photos that we have been around the world. And the last conference due to the pandemic was virtual in Australia, and now we are here in India. Very happy. The conference programs remains basically the same. Do you see here the first conference organization? We have plenary talks and panels, small groups discussions, which lead to the proposals to the General Assembly, country posters, regional meetings, cultural and social activities, and the topics that were discussed in the first conference, which remain of interest, permanent interest in our community. Later on, conference workshops on professional skills were implemented with some topics, and more than professional skills were added, like those shown here. It was important to foster collaborations, and so as the scientific poster session was implemented, and whenever possible, we have outreach activities, satellite workshops, and visits to labs. An important outcome of the conference are the proceedings. They have been published in the American Institute of Physics Conference Proceeding Series with the support of the United States team. They are open access, and I invite you to visit this website and go through the volumes. You will find the conference programs, country papers, science papers, and also I'm very glad to announce that the 7 EQUIP proceedings are coming soon. We are just waiting for the publisher's announcement. One of the important activities is the networking sessions. And let me just emphasize one of the advantages of having a virtual conference. Here you see the photo of the first Latin American regional meeting with the participation of 5 countries. And now during the last conference, we have 9 countries participating in this meeting. Career development workshops were implemented in some countries, but also at the regional level in Latin America, at worldwide activity supported by the International Center of Theoretical Physics in Trieste, Italy, and another workshop was organized in Africa, in Rwanda, in 2019. There are many national activities, but I would like also only to mention the 3 R's in the United Kingdom, which deals with recruitment, retention, and returning of women in physics. Since 2006, the American Physical Society organizes conferences for undergraduate students, which are similar to this conference. And it has been replicated in Mexico twice so far. There are also many regional meetings, and I also would like to mention the Asian second regional meeting last time organized in Nepal in 2019. So these are just a very few examples of all the activities. You can find them in the proceedings, all the activities performed. Now, we were willing to have more interaction with some other groups. So we get in contact with some other unions and try to start joint activities. So the project, A Global Approach to the Gender Gap in Mathematical and Natural Sciences, how to measure it, how to reduce it, was launched and supported by International Science Council. You can visit the website. You will find all the activities, the closing meeting in Trieste, Italy, and the report was published in a book that you can download from the website. There is another book published as a result of the Latin American Regional Workshop, and you will find a lot of information in all those reports. Now, to continue and enlarge the work accomplished so far, a standing committee for gender equality in science was established. This committee, multidisciplinary committee, develops different activities like a webinar, as shown here in this plot. I would like to emphasize a few impacts that this conference has led to. The first one is that it has made gender an issue to be discussed in our community. We have created national teams and networks, not only within the community, physics community, but around the world with different disciplines. We have now more participation and better conditions for women in our structure, the structure of our union and the conferences that supports. And we have programs, more programs and materials to attract interest of girls to physics. And we have adopted the principles for gender inclusion and diversity in physics. And you will see along the conference all the activities that our groups are organizing. Now, to conclude, I would like to emphasize that this international conference, Women in Physics, promotes our union's missions to assist in the worldwide development of physics, to foster international cooperation in physics, and to help in the application of physics towards solving problems of concerns to humanity. There's no doubt that this conference will be as successful as the others. So please stay with us and enjoy it. Welcome to the 8th conference, Women in Physics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lilia, for the brief history of EQUIP and also talking about interesting workshops and activities of past EQUIP conferences. I now invite Professor Rohini Godbole, who has been a gender champion for many years, to give a brief overview of women in physics in India. Professor Rohini Godbole is a distinguished high-energy physicist currently serving as an honorary professor at Indian Institute of Sciences. She is recipient of Padma Shri and Order National de Mérite, a highly prestigious French Order of Merit Award. Amongst many achievements, she was the first woman physicist to be elected as a fellow of Indian Academy of Sciences. She has been instrumental in setting up Women in Science panel of the Indian Academy of Sciences and the Indian National Science Academy. Over to you, Professor Godbole.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I am struggling right now to find the mode share screen. Just 1 second, bear with me. I'm not able to find that.
It will be at the bottom, Rohini, the green button.
Yeah, I found it. Okay, so
Can someone change spotlight by then?
I hope you people can see my screen. So
Yes.
it gives me absolutely
Rohit,
enormous.
sorry to interrupt. Can you turn on your video?
Oh, yes.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for pointing it out. As I said, it gives me no amount of pleasure to speak with the fact that the International Conference on Women in Physics is really being held in India. And what will my talk contain? I will give you some highlights of the status report on women in physics in India, but really not all the details. And more importantly, I will perhaps focus a little bit on the tail of the journey of this effort in India, which started from the first equip held by IUPAP in 2002 to equip 2023, which is now being held. And I think my talk would be to some extent a proof of the statements that were being made by Lena earlier in her talk, that equip 2023 has been instrumental in fact, spreading the word of gender equity. And in my opinion, the activities in India, at least at the academics levels, really owe a lot to this first equip held in Paris. Where have I taken the information from? So that's the Gender in Physics Working Group webpage that already Vandana told you about. And the two specific documents, which you can go to for many more details, is the issue of Physics News of 2021, in which there is an article by Sumati Rao on history of the working group of women in physics in India, and as well as the article by Bindu Bamba on women in high energy physics in post-independent India. What is my own personal association with the story? I think I have been lucky to have had a ringside view. I have been the part of the Indian team for the first international conference on women in physics, which was held in Paris, and I was a speaker as quote unquote Asian success story. I was also part of the Indian delegation to the general body of IUPAP in Berlin the year after, where the recommendations that arose from 2002 meeting were adopted as specific recommendations, and they were actually specific recommendations to all the stakeholders, including science academies. I was involved with the national teams for equip in Brazil as well as in Korea. I have been involved in bringing out the first report on access of Indian women to a career in science by the Indian National Science Academy, and I have been the founder chair of the panel for women in science of the Indian Academy of Sciences. And currently, I am a member of the steering group of the Inter-Academy Panel for Women. So the starting point, as I said, is this first international conference on women in physics. And here is our Indian contingent. Here was our fearless leader, Sumati Rao. She has been the country leader for the first few years. This is Nilima Gupte. This is Jyoti Gyanchandani. This is a postdoc at that time, Sunita Nair, who is, of course, now a faculty. And from here, the journey has been to a very significant milestone, which was already mentioned, the first gender conference in physics, Pressing for Progress, which was organized by Prajwal Shastri, who is the country leader of the Women in Physics Working Group in India, as well as the vice chair of the Working Group 5, and Professor Bindu Bamba, who is a theoretical physicist and who was a professor at University of Hyderabad. So today, now we are holding equip 2023. As I said already, Prajwal Shastri, the vice chair of WG5, Pratibha Jolly, of principal of Miranda House, has been the chair of the Commission of IUPAP on Physics Education. I have been a member of Commission C11 for a few 2 terms. Shruvavati Goswami is currently a member of C11. Shobhana Narasimhan is a member of C5, and Urvashi Sinha is a member of C15. I want to sketch some of the steps on the way from here to here. And I think it's the case of you have come a long way, baby, as they used to say in the Virginia Slims ad in the 70s in the US. But frankly, it's also the case with apology to Robert Frost, miles to go before we sleep. So right after the equipped in Paris and the adoption of the recommendations by the IUPAP GB in Berlin, we all came back to India very much charged. And I think the important real takeaway point of the equip was that we felt we were not alone. And the reasons for the issues that are faced by many of us are not within us, but rather they are there in the systems and processes, and they need to be addressed. Personally, I looked at the initiatives that could be started at the level of academies, but at that time, Indian Academy of Sciences had precisely one woman fellow in physical sciences, and Indian National Science Academy had two, at least officially under the subject heading physics. So my early efforts and also the efforts of all my academic colleagues were about women in science in general, and we addressed issues of young women trying to make a career in science, not necessarily in physics. If I'm left with time, I will tell you a little bit of information about that. Let me now come back to the women in physics. So the working group on women in physics was, as I said, led by Sumati Rao, after that Shobhana Narasimhan, and after that Prajwal Shastri in succession, extremely ably. And these three women really led the charge. The Indian contingent participated in all the equipped conferences held since the first one. They presented the country papers and participated in a number of initiatives of WG5. Now, the specific initiatives of the working Women in Physics Working Group in India were actually very impressive. And this, I think, was really the effort of Prajwal and her cohort that they made two issues of the Indian Journal of Education, which is Resonance, entirely authored by women physicists and astrophysicists. Then they brought out an issue of Physics News, which is the quarterly of the Indian Physics Association, which was told by Vandana, as well as they brought out a section of India's multidisciplinary journal called Current Science. I vaguely call it India's Nature, which was completely authored by women scientists. So these are the covers of these journals in 2018, 2017. As you can see, they were in the month of March. Then this was the Physics News issue, which was again January to March 2017. And this was the Current Science special section on women in science. And I want to emphasize here that in these issues, there are no articles about women in science, but there are articles on science by women. So I want to emphasize that. Actually, the further steps were formation of a Gender in Physics Working Group of the Indian Physics Association, which was the first team was headed by Prajwal Shastri. And again, we heard about it from Vandana. And I already mentioned the first Gender in Physics conference. I think an important thing there was this formulation of Hyderabad Charter, which was an emphatic restatement of many of the steps that we all believe and have understood to be taken to increase and emphasize the participation of women in science and particularly in physics. Now the working group was first headed by Shruvati Goswami after Prajwal Shastri, and now it is being headed by Vandana Nanal. And Shruvati Goswami and Vandana Nanal, as we know, are the co-chairs of the LOC of the EQUIP. So as you can see that it is the Women in Physics Gender in Physics Working Group that's really driving this all. There are many initiatives, some of them which I have participated sometimes and sometimes they are not yet. It's something like summer schools for young girls to attract them to research careers, a lecture program called Pavinari, which I can literally translate in for my Indian friends, is Padartha Vigyan Ki Nariyan, whereas in literally translated, it is about women of physics. Then there is a gender survey and so on and so forth. So you can see that, the Women in Physics group is active. You can also ask very naturally the question, what is the number of women in physics in India? What is their share in research and publication? What is their presence in academies? What about their presence in leadership positions? Now, many of these, some of the data would be presented in various posters, and we are hopeful that the Gender in Physics Working Group will actually make very up-to-date information on that. But this is just to share some numbers because we are all scientists. Many of us want to look at the data. So the survey by APS in 1999 that was already mentioned in one of the first talks, India had shown that there are 32% gender fraction of 32 women in the first level degree in physics, whereas in the PhD, there was about 20% participation. Now, from 1999 to today, or in the intervening years, one has actually collected more data. And the general story in India now actually is that the fraction of women in undergraduate or even masters or at the PhD level is now somewhere on the average at the 30% level. And the real big drop in the participation of women in physics, this is for science, but the physics is very similar, as I will show you in half a second. The numbers really fall very drastically and are really, really small when they come to senior professors, senior faculty, and senior leaders and high achievers.
Rohini?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but maybe a couple of minutes.
Okay, in which case I will not show these numbers, because these numbers that I want to show them is to show that indeed this range is indeed what happens. And what I would like to just kind of show here, for example, that the physicists in tenure position, this is about from 2018, then 20% women and 81% men. And you would say, oh, this looks pretty good. But, and then in the DST programs, about 20% again, women money, 20% receive funding. But on the other hand, when you go to, I will summarize it here, that firstly, the increasing numbers is only recent. And more importantly, the fraction actually goes on decreasing as you go to the level of authority and also the perceived importance of the institute. The fraction in awards, fellowships, decision-making or leadership positions is even smaller. But now we do have 2 women directors, one for a physics and one for an astrophysics institute. And to go back and see, when I came back to India in 1979 as a fresh postdoctoral fellow, I heard names of only 2 senior women physicists. One was Professor Bhamati and one was Professor Bimla Bhuti, both theoretical physicists. And I myself was the first woman postdoctoral fellow in theoretical particle physics in Tata Institute. None of us even had heard about Professor Bibha Chaudhary, the first woman experimental particle physicist who had worked in the elite institutes in India, and we heard about it only recently. So compared with that, this situation that I showed you, which I didn't discuss, is really a great improvement. In addition to that, for science, technology, the current science, technology, and innovation policy of India contains a chapter on equity and inclusion and pays great attention to gender inclusion. The Department of Science and Technology has an initiative for gender advancement for transforming institutions. And this is more on the lines of Athena Swan. Professor Jolly has been instrumental in drawing the Gati Charter. You can read about the academy initiatives and also about some of the government initiatives in the posters, but I want to end this by telling you about one of the early academy initiatives, and that is because I want to show the impact of the International Conference on Women in Physics. So this is a book that we brought out, myself and Professor Ram Ramaswamy. We edited it together, and what we did is that we asked a lot of successful women scientists who worked in modern India to write about what helped and what hindered them. And this book is called Leelavati's Daughters, Women Scientists of India. And it contained actually 10 to 11 physicists, and Sumati Rao, Nilima Gupte, Bindu Bamba, Prajwal Shastri, Shubhavati Goswami are all among the names which feature in this book, and which are the names which you have already heard and which you will keep on hearing. And personally, I got the inspiration to bring this out due to tea time conversations in Equip in Paris in 2002, talking to my women friends from Malaysia, Ghana, a whole lot of countries which are similar to India culturally. And that is where they said, oh, it is much nicer to hear stories from people who are within your culture, within your community. And you can see that is what gave us an idea to bring this book out. So this is one of the many intangible impact of Equip, because I do believe that this book has gone some level to increase awareness of gender in science in general. And as I said, since many of them contained, sorry, what happened now? Many of them contained physicist stories. It's also a story of physics. So the journey of women in physics in India has been a story of hard work by a number of stakeholders through the decades, and it's been progressing very well. You will see a lot of it in the posters and presentations and discussions, but it's a case of work in progress, and please stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Godbole, for nicely recapitulating the journey of 2 decades from the perspective of women in physics. When we proposed to host EQUIP conference in India, we received enthusiastic support from the Office of Principal Scientific Advisor, Professor A.K. Sood. Professor A.K. Sood, the Principal Scientific Advisor of Government of India, is here with us today. Professor Sood is a distinguished condensed matter physicist. He is the chairperson of Prime Minister's Science, Technology and Innovation Advisory Council. He is a recipient of Padma Shri and many prestigious awards, including Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award. He is an elected fellow of the Royal Society of London. I now invite Professor Sood to say a few words and formally inaugurate the EQUIP 2023 conference.
Thank you very much for having me in this inaugural session. It is indeed a big delight to be associated with this conference. We are delighted that Office of PSA is associated with this. Very succinctly, Rohini has given a whole map of how India has come a long way in this. Now, having been a physicist myself over the last 50 years, many inspiring women colleagues I have been associated with them who are vocal about the challenges of women in physics. And because of that, I have some understanding of the issues from a close proximity. So today I was recalling that in my all these years, I have graduated about 50 PhD students, and out of which 13 are women, and many of them are doing very well. So that's heartening to see. This number is not very large, it's about 25%. And in postdocs, I have not had much success because I didn't have many, whether male or female. I think I have had in my career only less than 10 postdocs. And out of 10, I could recall that 6 are women. And at least 3 of them have the physics career going on. So as a mentor and colleague to many inspiring women, I understand what are the challenges. I understand how important it is to have more women in physics, not only for the sake of inclusion, but also for the sake of advancing science and society. I'm convinced of that. Now, there are several challenges that women in physics or women in science face in India and globally, and I'm sure a lot of it will be discussed in this conference, so I will not elaborate, such as lack of visible role models, hiring biases, conscious or unconscious bias, discrimination, harassment, lack of support, family responsibilities, and social stereotypes. I'm sure that a lot of it will be addressed and how to go about removing them. So what we see is that in addressing the diverse strata of women in physics, we should provide opportunities that cater to their specific needs. For example, for young women entering the field, mentorship programs, scholarships, and exposure to successful women physicists would serve as catalysts for their journey. By nurturing their passion and providing guidance, we can empower them to pursue and in physics. Now, for the middle-aged physicists, often they face unique challenges, balancing career assignment aspirations with family responsibilities. We should recognize the importance of flexible work policies, support systems, and reskilling opportunities that will enable them to navigate these challenges and continue their scientific pursuits. Now, when we come to senior physicists, going one step more, like their male counterparts, they possess a wealth of knowledge and experience, and we should create an enabling environment that will provide them with leadership roles, significant research grants and platforms to share their expertise and mentor the next generation of women physicists. Now, additionally, we need to acknowledge the diverse career opportunities available to women in physics, be it in laboratory, which we know, academia, industry, startups, which is happening more and more now. India is growing up in that sector, or manufacturing. Now, as a country, we are actively working towards bridging the gap between academia and industry, creating a synergy that empower women and open a myriad of possibilities for women at various stages. So academic profile need not be the only one which we should consider, but also look at different and other opportunities for women in physics. Lastly, I'll just say, sitting in this office, which also looks at what are the government initiatives, Rohini said very clearly some of these events, some of the processes, and there is no doubt, which I have seen in the last many years, that our government remains steadfast in its commitment to gender equality in science and has implemented several initiatives, as was mentioned by Rohini. For example, the Women Scientist Scheme, which provides research grants, fellowship, and training opportunities for women scientists who had a break in career, and how we can bring them. Then we have, which was again mentioned, very important program, the Gender Advancement for Transforming Institution, Gati. This is something, again, I think it will be a very good platform, what our systems are, how different institutes are doing. The Women in Science Initiative by Indian Academy of Sciences, which was mentioned, and also looking at, of course, in this context, we also heard that how we can celebrate the contributions of women scientists by bringing out monographs, books, and arranging lectures. Now, and STIP, the Science and Technology Innovation Policy, also has paid attention to this. Now, coming to my office, we have what we call clusters, city clusters. We have 6 city clusters. Pune, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mohali, Chandigarh, and so on. And in some of these clusters, we have very women-centric programs. So I'll just give you 1 or 2 examples of that, just to see, say what it is being done. So Pune Knowledge Cluster has partnered with Ernst & Young to work with 13 to 18 years old girls to support their advancement and interest in science. This also includes those who are keen on physics. And BASF Limited, they supported grants through our Manthan platform. Again, I will request you to see what this Manthan platform is of Office of PSA. We bring demand and supply side on the same platform. And here, this 20 girls, students were supported who were really exposed to startup system in the country. So this is one initiative which has been very recent. And we have brought out 2 coffee table books, again, supported by various private organizations. One of them is called She Is, which has 75 women in STEAM. This was done in collaboration with British High Commission and Red Dot Foundation, FICCI and UN Women. And more recently, we have She Is, which is She Rose, which means the work connected to water, which was brought out in collaboration with Consulate General of Canada and Red Dot Foundation. And recently, Hyderabad cluster has enabled Bicon Foundation to support women in STEM, where they have supported internship in PG and UG STEM courses. We had a very good response, and 25 these girls were selected. So all these statistics and evidence show that good slope, the slope has to be increased to make this gender equity meaningful. And it is very clear that physics needs women and women need physics. There is no question, it is both ways. And I'm sure that conference like this, which is happening over the years, will really serve a great purpose in bringing this awareness. So I wish the conference a great success and look forward to many outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sood, for inaugurating EQUIP 2023 conference. Also for your support and expressing the commitment towards gender diversity.
Thank you.
Dr. A.K. Mohanty, Secretary, Department of Atomic Energy, India, couldn't join us today due to his prior engagements. I request Professor Vandana Nanal to read his message.
Thank you, Deepa. So this is a message from Dr. Mohanty. He says, good afternoon. Let me also extend a warm welcome to all participants of EQUIP 2023. As we all know that improving gender balance in STEM is a very pressing issue, matter of global concern. In recent years, several efforts have been initiated at national level to address gender imbalance in STEM. The institutional policies play a crucial role in both entry and retention of women in STEM. It will not be amiss to mention here, if we look at the major technological efforts in India, like nuclear energy or accelerator programs of Department of Atomic Energy, ISRO satellite missions, or India's missile program, all have had a significant contribution from women researchers, particularly in the recent years. This further emphasizes the need to utilize the potential of all our resources. This also means ensuring proper facilities and a conducive, harmonious environment so that women can perform at their level best. On a personal note, I would like to add that as an IPA president during 2020 to 2022, I have closely watched the progress of GIPW. I'm very happy to see that it has flourished and is playing an important role both in national and international context. I'm really happy to see the participation from a wide spectrum of countries. I'm confident that the outcome of deliberations will lead to the globally beneficial policies we all can draw on each other's experiences. This will pave the way for journey ahead at an accelerated pace. I wish you all great success in this conference and look forward to the recommendations. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mohanty.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty, for your thoughtful and kind message for EQUIP 2023. I now invite Professor Jairam Chengalur, Director, TIFR, to say a few words. Professor Chengalur is a distinguished professor and director of TIFR. He has made significant research contributions in extragalactic astronomy and cosmology area. He is a fellow of all three national academies in India, Indian Academy of Sciences, Indian National Science Academy, and National Academy of Science. Over to you, Professor Chengalur.
Yeah, thank you. So let me start by saying that I'm delighted that TIFR, along with the gender group of the Indian Physics Association, is co-organizing this 8th edition of IUPAP's International Conference of Women in Physics. And as we've been hearing, and as we probably all have appreciated even before, women are highly underrepresented in STEM subjects, not just in India, but also all across the globe. And as Professor Godbole also sort of emphasized, there's also this problem of a leaky pipeline, that the female fraction plummets as you go up, particularly towards senior positions and leadership positions in STEM and in elite institutes. And as Professor Sood also told us, the mechanisms responsible for this are complex. And I think that conferences such as these are critical in understanding both these mechanisms as well as in identifying concrete steps that we could take to try and address the problems. So in this context, I just wanted to say a few words about a program that Professor Godbole already mentioned, a small but concrete step that TIFR has taken to try and contribute to the solution. And this is Vigyan Vidushi, which is a summer school for women's master students, which is aimed at providing them both training as well as mentorship at the point at which they are at the threshold of making a career decision. And although this program has been running for only a few years, the feedback is already quite encouraging. A significant fraction of the participants have gone on to join for a PhD program somewhere. And many of them have cited the Vigyan Vidushi program as an important factor in their decision-making progress. TIFR organizes similar programs, not just in physics, but also in maths and computer science. And the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, which is also part of TIFR and is deeply involved in hosting this conference, plays a very major role in the Vigyan Vidushi program. And I should also mention that it has also over 2 decades of experience of working with gender-related issues of science in India. So this is a small step, and I'm sure we'll hear of many more such initiatives in the EQUIP conference coming up. And as I said, I think EQUIP provides a much needed platform for deliberation on a variety of gender-related issues. And I'm sure that the coming week will be exciting, full of vibrant discussions, which will have long-reaching consequences. So I'm looking forward to new ideas, as well as new directions that this conference will point towards, which will help us all in this path towards gender equity and gender harmony. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chengulur. Without your support, the conference wouldn't have been feasible. We also request you to release the abstract ebook of EQUIP 2023 conference.
I'm very happy to do that. Is there something I do, or I just say that?
Yeah, probably.
No, just give me a minute. I'll just get something on the screen after that. You can do it. Just a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
You can see my screen? Yeah. So if you now instruct me, I'll click.
Yes, please go ahead, Professor Nanal. Yeah, please do go ahead.
So this is the ebook of all the plenary talks and that. So thank you, Professor Jairam, for releasing it. This will be now made available on the conference website.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Chengulur, for releasing the abstract ebook. Our next invitee is Professor Silvina Pons-Dawson, who is the IUPAP President Delegate. A warm welcome to Professor Dawson. We are excited to hear from you about IUPAP's gender-focused activities. Professor Dawson is a physics professor at the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina and the principal researcher of the Argentinian National Research Council. She was chair of IUPAP WG5 during 2011 to 2014 and a member of the Executive Committee of International Science Council funded Gender Gap in Science project. I now invite Professor Dawson to say a few words. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hello to all and good morning, good afternoon and good evening. I am very happy to be here on behalf of the International Union of Pure and Applied Physics, IUPAP, at this inauguration of the 8th IUPAP International Conference on Women in Physics, because this is a type of conference that has exerted an enormous impact on IUPAP, both on its structure and processes. I am a result of that. I started my relationship with IUPAP through the Women in Physics movement, and now I am a president designate. So the IUPAP has changed a lot thanks to the working group. But furthermore, the working group has had an enormous impact on the physics communities all over the world, I would say, and it has had an impact on more countries than territorial members of IUPAP, because the working group has been able to nurture the creation of similar working groups of women in physics on many, many, many countries, more, as I've told you, than territorial members of IUPAP. And you've just had a glimpse a little bit now with the talks by our Indian colleagues, also the talk by Lilia, who is a very good friend of mine and whom I met at the first International Conference on Women in Physics, and we became friends ever since. And so the working group has had an enormous impact on IUPAP, but equips have been key for this impact because they are the platform where you can discuss and you can share experiences. And then equips are those that produce recommendations and resolutions for the IUPAP to uphold. And IUPAP, in fact, has taken most of those resolutions and recommendations and have them implemented and introduced changes in its own structures and processes, as I already said. And one of the aspects that I like the most of equips is the atmosphere that they have, which is very hard to describe. They are like energizing. I think that everybody who participates in an equip then changes its points of view and wants to do something to induce further changes. So I just want to congratulate you all for having organized a new equip. And on behalf of the Executive Council of the IUPAP, I bring here the warmest greetings and wish you a very successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dawson, for sharing IUPAP's gender-focused activities and WG5 initiatives. As we heard in the beginning, GIPWG IPA is the organizer of is the co-organizer of EQUIP 2023. Dr. Yusuf, the president of Indian Physics Association, is also present here. Welcome, Dr. Yusuf. Dr. Yusuf is Physics Group Director in Bhabha Atomic Research Center, India. His expertise is in the area of advanced magnetic materials and neutron scattering. He is a recipient of many prestigious awards and is also a fellow of 3 national academies in India. I now invite Dr. Yusuf to say a few words.
Thank you. Dear panelists, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, as a president of Indian Physics Association, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this 8th IUPAP International Conference on Women in Physics, which, as you know, jointly being organized by Gender in Physics Working Group of Indian Physics Association and Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. And IPA is indeed very happy to be part of this event. In fact, the Gender in Physics Working Group in Indian Physics Association, it was created in the year of 2017 when I was serving in IPA as the General Secretary. And IPA is committed in encouraging equal opportunities for all researchers, regardless of their gender. Presently, as you know, there are about 20% women members enrolled in Indian Physics Association. And the participation of women in Indian Physics Association has constantly increased over the period of time. I'll give very, very brief statistics. For example, if you go back for the year 2001 till 2012, there was no woman member in the executive committee of the Indian Physics Association. Subsequently, the number grew from 1 lady member, that was during 2012 to 2018, and then it increased to 2 members, that was during 2018 to 2020. And since last 2 terms, that is 2020 onwards, IP Executive Committee has 4 women members. And if you see in terms of the election officers for the last 2 elections of the Executive Committee of Indian Physics Association, IPA appointed one female and one male election officers. The Physics News, that is the news bulletin and face of Indian Physics Association, it has 2 women editors, and in the editorial board since 2018, and the current special issue of Physics News to be published for the duration January to June 2023 has women guest editors, and it includes articles from young women scientists from different fields of physics. The IPA awards show growing number of women awardees, both in category of eminent senior scientists and outstanding young scientists. The GPI editorial group has been very enthusiastic in spreading gender awareness in science and networking with IUPAC and the national working groups of IPA sister organizations such as Institute of Physics UK, the American Physical Society USA, and the Association of Asia Pacific Physical Societies, of which IPA is a member. In fact, in the year 2019, as a vice president of Indian Physics Association, it was a proud moment for me to inaugurate an IPA national conference towards gender equality in physics. And it was already pointed out by Professor Rohini Godbole that was Pressing for Progress 2019 at the University of Hyderabad. In fact, in that conference, I recall that Professor Bimla Bhuti, she was felicitated in recognition of her contribution to science in general and the gender question in particular. After being closely associated with the birth and growth of the gender in physics working group, now as president of IPA, I'll encourage IPA to play a bigger role in promoting activities towards gender equality and to increase the participation of women in science. In fact, I'd like to suggest here that as in the high energy physics, as you know, the high energy physics has formed a gender equity group, and the other branches of physics in Indian platform can also form gender representation groups to expand the influence and especially to reach out to the young female researchers, physicists, and help them to overcome all sorts of barriers in their choosing physics as profession. I'm happy to inform that a new award known as Hema Ramchandran Lectureship Award was conferred for the first time for the year 2022. And the award is meant to give recognition to young Indian researchers, especially the young women scientists, for a specific innovation and or achievement in experimental area. Presently, Indian Physics Association is in process of instituting other awards for inspiring young women scientists in early stage of their research career. For the current year, the IPA is working seriously so that separate funds can be allocated. It will be named as GIPWG endowment to take care expenses towards future GIPWG of IPA events. I assure you that IPA is committed to increase the visibility and participation of women in physics, and I convey my best wishes for the success of this present conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf, for telling about IPA activities and particularly IPA support for this conference. We all are now really excited to know what is going to happen in EQUIP 2023. To tell us more about the EQUIP 2023 program, I now invite Professor Babati Goswami, co-chair EQUIP 2023 LOC. Professor Goswami is a renowned theoretical particle physicist at the Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. She is a member, ex-chair of GIPWG, and a member of Inter-Academy Panel of Women in STEM in India. She is actively involved in fostering gender diversity in Indian physics professions. She is a fellow of all 3 national academies in India. Over to you, Professor Goswami.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you, Deepa. Let me just share my screen. So, welcome to everyone. I will be introducing you to the EQUIP program at a glance. So, this is from the web page, and you see our sponsors here. And so, this is the proposal which we submitted in January 2022, and all these details you all are already mentioned. So, I go to the program. So we have the plenary session, and we have a keynote talk by Karen Alberg, and then we have a galaxy of speakers. So giving scientific talks, then we have panel discussions, and then we have special discussion on publishing, and then we have resolutions by Professor Silvina. So this is statistics of the participation. So this is the map which shows that we have participation from all over the world, and this is shows the participation continent-wise. We have, of course, maximum from Asia this time, but we have from other parts also. And the total participant number is about 494, of which student is about 85. As Professor Nanal mentioned, about 20%. And the female participation is 88%, but we have about 12% from all others. So apart from the plenary sessions, we also have the workshops. We have 5 workshops, one on physics education, and one on social science and data analysis for physicists. The third one is on interrogating physics practice with an intersectionality lens. Then we have one on women's leadership in physics, and we have the role of women in science for development. The registered participant for the conference can choose to attend these workshops. I think they can attend 2 workshops at a time because they are held in parallel. And apart from that, there are regional meetings planned. We also have a AAPPS Women in Physics meeting held. And in addition, we have social and networking sessions, cultural programs. So all are planned online, and this is the link. So all that I am saying are basically available in the web page, but I'm just introducing you. Then we have the poster session. So in the poster session, we have 7 tracks on astrophysics and cosmology, nuclear particle, atomic and accelerator physics, laser optics and quantum information, condensed matter physics and nanoscale physics, environmental and medical physics, and women in physics and women and girls in physics education. So we have all these. So this is statistics of how many posters are received in which track, and this is the country poster. So as is the convention in EQUIP, that we have the posters from each country and describing the gender status of their country. And this is, and from this year we have introduced a poster prize in above these 7 categories. So this is how the poster room will look like. We are using frame, and these keys will help you to navigate through the poster. So this is from one poster on the status report of women in physics in India. So this blue area is where you can interact with the presenter. And so there are various frame rooms. So I will show you one of the frame rooms, which is called Purnima Sinha Hall. So what we have done is that each poster hall, as well as each Zoom room for every session, we have named after an eminent women scientist, or for the cultural program, we have named it in the name of a eminent women dancer of the country. So these are all the halls which when we go to the poster halls, or when you come to attend any Zoom session, you will find that these are the halls named after all these eminent personalities. So this is the thing we thought, and there are, there will be a description of the work they have done. In each hall, you will find a slide about them also. So please do take a look in these also, apart from the poster. So apart from the main program, we thought that we should take this opportunity And we should have a lot of more activities all over the country. And so this we started this, and apart from so we also planned some satellite workshops. So we already had 2 satellite workshops held on 9th and 9th July. And the one was on teaching physics online, issues of access and equity in the classroom. And the other ones on combating biases and improving institutional culture. And we are sharing some infographics in Twitter, in Facebook, and as well as you can find an infographic gallery in the gallery section in the web page. So please do take a look, because this is this will help in explaining in simple words to maybe young people what are the main issues. So then the third workshop will be on presentation skills for career advancement for the young participants, and this is on 11th July. So as I said, we arranged many satellite events, and this is the map of India where we have this says that all over India we have had these satellite events. And it started with the Pavinari lecture, which is the lecture on women physicists. Pavinari in Hindi means Padartha Vigyan Ki Nari, so which means women in physics. And so we had about 5 lectures on eminent women physicists, and these were held in hybrid mode. We have had one panel discussion on multiple choice questions, and we had one on career women, challenges, opportunities, and success stories. Then we have another one on online teaching and women in STEM. And we also had an event for the young students, which is a sit and draw competition, and topics were given and on various women and physics related issues. And that was held in the Homi Baba Center. So this is our Twitter page. So this photo is from yesterday's icebreaker event, and please follow us on Twitter. We are sharing these infographics in Twitter apart from the programs and the information. And please use these hashtags. So I think that the opportunity to organize EQUIP has given us an unprecedented momentum, and we have really got a very good response. And we have, as I have shown, we have held these satellite events in all parts of India, but we plan to go to more remote regions and hold this event. So we don't want to stop here. We want to continue from here. And in addition, this is a global platform, and we have a lot of network opportunities, and I am sure some new ideas, some out of the box ideas will come up for us to pursue and improve the situation related to gender, and in general related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are looking forward with a lot of excitement in the coming week. And I end my presentation with some of the pictures which these young students have presented during this meeting, which was arranged. And this gallery is also there in the webpage. So please take a look. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Goswami. We all really look forward to an exciting week ahead. So the conference of this scale and diversity has become a reality only because of tremendous contributions from many different agencies and people. So before we end our session, I would like to invite Professor V. Madhurima to give the vote of thanks. Professor Madhurima is EQUIP 2023 LOC Secretary. She is a soft condensed matter physicist at the Central University of Tamil Nadu. She has played a key role in drafting the gender policy of CUTN and regularly organizes gender sensitization programs on various forums. Here you go.
Thank you, Deepa. As Deepa said, event of this magnitude could not be possible without many players playing their role in the background. and it's my honor to be presenting a formal vote of thanks, although I don't think just thanks is enough for any one of them. To start with, our thanks are to the organizers of the EQUIP 2023, IUPAP, and specifically the Working Group 5, and also the local advisory committee of this event, who have been instrumental in guiding us through the last few months, in fact, over a year, in getting this program organized at the right scale and magnitude. Thanks are due to Professor Jairam Chengalu, TFR Director, and Professor Arnab Bhattacharya, the Center Director of the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, two of the host institutes, for their unstinting support in conducting this event, without which this would not have been possible. Our deep sense of gratitude to the funding support we have received from the Department of Atomic Energy, India, Indian Physics Association, and also the National Institute of Science Education and Research. Valuable technical support has been rendered by B. Satyanarayana, Manoj K, and Vachasvi Kashyap, and the smooth running of an online event of this magnitude, we owe our gratitude to them. We thank all the event organizers for all the satellite events that Professor Shrubrati had mentioned, because these have happened across the country. And these events have actually ensured that the cause is taken to remote corners of the country. Our thanks are to the TIFR Computer Center staff, TIFR Lecture Theatre staff, and the Public Relations Office of the HBCAC. We thank IOP Publishing, Institute of Physics Publishing, for sponsoring the poster awards. And we also thank the Indian National Science Academy, INSA, for the book copies for this conference of the book called Ziddi by Sulbha Kulkarni, which gives biographies of many women scientists. Our profound sense of thanks to the local organizing committee, because they are the ones who have been instrumental in working behind the background of this entire event. And we look forward to your presence throughout the week's events. Thank you one and all for your presence today.
Thank you, Madhurima, and thank you all. This now brings us to the end of this session. Please join us at 16:45 Indian Standard Time for the keynote talk by Professor Karen Hallberg. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Deepa, for nicely conducting the session. And as she said, we come back in 10 minutes for the keynote talk of Professor Karen. Thank you all for joining us.